Metal Sonic Hyperdrive. What a fascinating ROM hack that does a lot of stuff that's just shocking for a Genesis game. But before I go off on a tangent about that and get ahead of myself, let's dive right into the review proper. Welcome to Stuff We Play, home of everything weird and retro, and today we're looking at something that for sure falls into both of those categories. And if that sounds cool to you, why not subscribe? While there is no story presented in-game, the story of Metal Sonic Hyperdrive as presented by the Sonic Retro Wiki is as follows. One day after the defeat of Dr. Robotnik at the hands of Sonic, the evil doctor decided to build an Egg Robo to travel to Mobius to search for the Chaos Emeralds. Egg Robo kidnapped Tails in the Mystic Ruins by sending him into metallic madness, but luckily Tails escaped. Brilliant fanfiction, guys. He decided to sneak into Robotnik's lab and grab the parts of his robots in pieces. Tails later went to his home in the Mystic Ruins and created a new robot based off of Metal Sonic's classic model, so Tails sent Metal Sonic to Robotic Isle, where Egg Robo was heading to, in the hopes of finding the Chaos Emeralds and destroying Dr. Eggman's plans once and for all. Yeah, the story's not a big deal. It's a Sonic game, though. You're not playing a classic Sonic game for the story. So instead, how does the game present itself? And the answer is phenomenally. The graphics here look like they're modifications of graphics either from Sonic CD or Knuckles Chaotix. And these are games that did not run on base Sega Genesis hardware. They required either the Sega CD or 32X. There's so many colors and everything's so big and vibrant here. Everything is easy to see, and despite all the colors present, everything is still pleasing and all projectiles and whatnot are easily seeable. As for sound, as you'd expect for a ROM hack, most of it is taken or remixed from other games. But it took me a bit to realize that because some of it does sound remixed. And you know what else works well here? The gameplay. Yes, it's your usual Sonic fare, but Metal here does play a bit differently than our tried and true blue Hedgehog. Instead of a spin dash, if you press down an action button, he'll immediately do a dash forward. However, if you need something that gives you a bit more of a boost, you can press up in an action button like you would to make Sonic do his super peel out move in Sonic CD, and you'll charge up a little thing that upon release will make you dart forward super fast. What I find very odd about Metal here is that despite not actually being Sonic, he feels like he's faster here, but I'm not sure if he's actually faster or that's the way the levels are designed. Everything here from beginning to end, from the beautiful shores of the opening zone to metallic rush zone at the very end, seems like it's designed with flow in mind. Yes, there are some moments where the game comes to a stop where you have to do some platforming, which at times is tricky, but it never makes it feel like the game is grinding to a halt. Even though this is a modification of Sonic 1, I feel like the levels here are better than that game. In Sonic 1, you had an issue with having fast-paced zones like Green Hill followed by slogs like Marble Zone or Labyrinth Zone. But here, you never have anything like that. This game's equivalent to a Labyrinth Zone surprised me. I never drowned in there. I don't know if that means drowning's possible here if Metal can't, which would make sense since he's a robot, but even that had a certain amount of speed to it. Granted, there were some annoying moments with the boss fight there, but it wasn't too bad. What I also found interesting here is this game's equivalent to Starlight Zone actually had some anti-gravity gimmicks in them. Not like your typical Sonic gravity switching gimmicks, but more like the type you'd find in Starman stage and Mega Man, where there's just low gravity. This game oozes originality and it's beautiful, and the gameplay is stunning. Now, of course, all the bosses here are very much so similar to their versions in Sonic 1, but they're all like Redux versions. Perhaps the most radically different was the final boss, which though very much so a modification of the Sonic 1 final boss, had different attack patterns. And instead of having the electrical balls zone in on you, they instead would quickly drop and then would be immediately followed by two of the canisters rising from the ground or ceiling, instead of there being a few second delay, making it tougher, but better in that sense. Overall, I'm very impressed here, but would I say it's better than Sonic Megamix? On a technical level, Sonic Megamix was ultimately doing more in its final versions, but that's not to discount this one. Some are probably saying, well, didn't Megamix have multiple playable characters? Well, yes, but so does this game. Once you beat it, I actually found it very interesting. There's an incentive to beat the game. I don't know if there's an incentive if you beat it with the Chaos Emeralds or not, because I couldn't figure out if there were special stages or not. If you collect 50 rings and get to the end of the stage, no ring appears, but instead if you collect a Chaos Emerald during the stage, that will cause the ring to appear, but even then, there will be no special stage. But if you beat the game, no matter how many emeralds you have, you will unlock a special menu upon reaching the title screen again. All you have to do is access it, just press the C button. And from here, there's 4 more playable characters. There's Sonic, there's Kirby. Yes, Kirby is playable here. He plays a bit differently than in a Kirby game. There's some Mario the Adventurer, a very infamous version of Mario from a bootleg game that I actually reviewed quite a while back. And Darkon, who I believe is just based off of the guy who made this game's avatar. And he's cool. He actually probably has the most original moveset out of all these characters, being more of a close-range fighter than a typical Sonic character. However, going back to what I was saying about Megamix, yes, it does some technically more impressive things, but this I feel almost looks more impressive, especially since, well, it is a stable final build. Yes, Megamix V5 had those special Sonic CD Mania-esque special stages, but this one just has an overall look and feel that makes it seem like something that you'd need a Sega 32X to play, but is actually perfectly playable on base Genesis hardware. This is a game that surprised me, a game that I went into with no expectations and then was blown away with. This is something that could very easily be put up with the classic Sonic games. Yes, I mean that. This is a great game, and as it's a ROM hack and thus can't be legally sold, you owe it to yourself to download a ROM of it and give it a try. Would I call this the best Sonic ROM hack I've ever played? Absolutely. Thus far, I don't think I've ever played a Sonic ROM hack that had me grinning like an idiot so much from beginning to end. Like, I really enjoyed this game. This was a great time. So, with that, I would highly recommend Metal Sonic Hyperdrive. But before I ramble on more, I'm going to go ahead, take a pause, let you go download it, but while you're at it, why don't you subscribe to Stuff We Play for more great content like this, and leave a comment down below letting me know what ROM hacks or games in general I should look at in future videos. So, with that, thank you very much for watching, stay classy, and I will see you next time.